Good morning, good afternoon, good night, or good evening, or good early morning, whatever time you were watching this. This assignment has to do with the moon's phase, with the cycles that involves the moon, our natural satellite. Satellite is any object that goes around the planet, and we are living on planet Earth, and we have a natural satellite. We call it the moon, and um, what you're seeing now is the PowerPoint of chapter 2. Let me go all the way down, and where the moon is, there you go. So basically this slide here is mentioning something interesting that happens when two celestial objects they circle one another very close by, and they might be locked in some type of orbital rule. And in the case of the moon and earth, the orbital rule is that as the moon circles earth, it keeps facing earth with the same hemisphere all the time. It's called synchronous rotation, which means the moon goes once around earth and rotates once around its axis of rotation. And in this slide is represented by this dude. See this dude right here? So it's always for this dude, if this dude looks straight up towards his zenith point, it's gonna see Earth there all the time. See that? So which means this dude is stuck to the moon. The moon turns around its axis of rotation, but as the moon turns, it also moves forward, which means this person always stay having Earth standing still above uh, himself. But let's take a look at the phases itself. Um, what do you need to know about phases? There are two major sequence of phases. The first sequence is called waxing. See, waxing phases. Let me see, waxing. There you go. Waxing phases are phases that start with the new moon, and the new moon is a phase that you don't see anything in the sky. Basically, the moon is pretty much close to the sun, so if you happen to look in the direction where the moon is, you can't see it because the sun is there. In fact, never do that. Never look straight. Never ever look straight at the sun. Sun, our star, not your son if you have a kid. So you should always look at your kid. But I mean, the sunny star, the one that stay up there, is a ball of gas burning, as Pumbaa, the Lion King, would say stars are. The sun is too bright, so do not look straight at the sun star because it might damage your retina. So it's not good. But so the new moon is always close in the sky, not in position, but in the sky position, like in a field of view. The moon and the sun are kind of close to each other in the new phase, which means do not look straight at the sun if you happen to. Oh, where's the new moon? Now, the phase that follows that is the waxing crescent. See that? And then the first quarter, gibbous, and full moon. So waxing phases are those phases that goes from new all the way to full, and the waning phases are those in which the moon goes from a full phase all the way to the new moon, waning. So waxing means the moon is apparently getting bigger or brighter, which means more at any given time. Look at this. Can you see these moons depicted here in this inner circle? The sun is right here, right in the left-hand side. Earth is right here. We are kind of floating in space, looking down on the solar system. Earth goes around the sun like this. See that? Like that. As well as it rotates on its axis like this. Okay, so if you look at the moon at any given position, it's always lit half hemisphere. It always show half hemisphere lit. See that? Because the moon doesn't have proper light like Earth. They don't have proper light. They don't shine themselves like stars. The stars have proper light. Stars shine themselves, have intrinsic brightness. Moons and planets don't. They don't have proper light. So, which means this bright hemisphere here, it is bright because moon itself is reflecting sunlight. Now, how much or which percentage of this bright hemisphere can we see on Earth? For instance, in the new phase, which percentage of the bright area we see it? Nothing of it, right? Because only the darkness, only the shadows of the moon are facing Earth, so we don't see anything. But as you go to the crescent phase, so if you stand on Earth exactly in a good position, like somewhere here, see that? So this part we don't see it because it's bright, but we might be able to see a tiny little bit right here. This light, this tiny bright area, we might be able to see it all. And as we see it, it appears like this, a crescent phase. See that? And for the first quarter, half of its bright hemisphere now can be seen. It goes from here to there. And then in the gibbous phase, we see more of that. In the full phase, we see all the bright hemisphere. See that? So that's the reason of phases. So phases exist because of a particular configuration of moon, earth, and the sun. And you can apply the same idea for waning phase. Now, what is the telltale of a moon phase in the sky? Let's say you look at the sky, you see the moon. Can you tell quickly if it's waxing or waning? Well, if you are in the northern hemisphere, and what I'm gonna tell now, it's true only for the northern hemisphere. Okay, so you go to the southern hemisphere, it's gonna be all reversed. So, but assuming you're not traveling soon, right? Because I want you to finish this intersection course. I know it's online. You can probably get an airplane and do everything in Brazil or in Uruguay or in Australia. It's already New Year in Australia. It's still December 31st here. It's funny, huh? But anyway, so assuming you are in the northern hemisphere, a waxing phase, the bright hemisphere, the sharp edge of a bright hemisphere is always to your right hand side, which means if you have a big hand and you are going to grab the moon, can you see this? You would grab holding this bright curve right here with your right hand. It is the same thing here. It's a waxing phase. It's a waxing phase. This is the full phase. So in the waning phase, you would use your left hand to hold it. See that? Same thing here. Same thing there. So that's the telltale. If you are in the northern hemisphere, look at the moon, and then okay, you're gonna grab it. Let's say you have the power of grabbing the moon, right? So you're gonna grab the moon. Which hand would you use? If you use the right hand, it's a waxing phase. If you use the left hand, it's a waning phase. Okay? First rule. Second rule. It is a crescent phase, quarter, or gibbous. Well, quarter is simple, right? Quarter is when you look at the moon, you see the moon kind of a halfway lit. Exactly 50% of the bright hemisphere is facing us. So if it's first quarter, it's because it's waxing quarter, and if it's a waning quarter, is the last quarter. So quarter is not a problem. Full phase is not a problem. It's all completely lit. And new moon, as I mentioned before, we don't see it. But how about the other two major phases, crescent and gibbous? Well, here's the thing. Crescent phases are those in which the moon happens to be between Earth and the sun and this light source. Okay? So crescent means it's not completely quarter yet, and it's not a new moon. It's in between. And gibbous is somewhere between the quarter phases and the full moon. Then you have it all. So let me do an exercise here. Let's say this here. This is December 31st at 2:22. In fact, right now It's early in the morning for me. It's 10:31, but I kind of speed up the time and I put it right there. And here's the sun. And where is the moon? On December 31st. It's not visible, but let's look in the eastern sky and speed up time. There you go. Oops, the moon is rising. So the moon is rising, and now it's getting dark. And just to make our life easier, let me get rid of daylight. Daylight's gone. And Taurus. So moon is in Taurus. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kind of get closer to it, and I want it to help me to decide. Look at Pleiades there. See Pleiades? Beautiful one. You want to take a look there? Just for fun, since we have the whole time in the world. Look at that. Pleiades. We look up at Pleiades with a naked eye. You see 6 stars. It's called the 7 Sisters. There are several myths explaining that one of the sisters got to be kidnapped, or one of the sisters were the good wife of one of the rishis in India. There are several stories. Different cultures, they create stories for these asterisms. But Pleiades, in fact, is an open cluster with hundreds of members. And here we are seeing just few of them. Okay. So let's get out of there and go back to our moon, because that's what we are doing. Look at this. Let's get closer, and then you tell me which phase is this, just by looking at it, right? How do you start? Well, can you hold this moon with your right hand or left hand? Like, well, has to be the right hand, right? So see this sharp edge in the right hand side? So you hold it. If you want to grab it, that moon, you want to grab it like a, imagine it's an apple, right? It's an apple, and you are hungry and you want to grab it. So which hand would you use to grab it? Of course the right hand, because you can see it well right here, right? That's the sharp edge. So so if you use your right hand to grab it, is a waxing phase. So this is a waxing moon, no problem, right? See this shadow, part right here, these shadows. This part is in shadow, so if you look in the telescope, you're gonna see all fuzzy or nothing of it. So so this is a waxing moon. Now, second, it's a crescent, or is a gibbous, or is a quarter? Well, it's not a quarter, because obviously, so if you take this top point right here and make a straight line down, so more than 50% of the bright hemisphere is showing to us. So it's not a quarter. Now, is it a crescent phase? No, because crescent is less than 50% of the bright hemisphere facing us. So here is more than 50%. So it's a gibbous phase. Okay, gibbous, Gibbous, gibbous. Okay, cool. So this is a waxing gibbous phase. Simple. Let's try something else. Okay, so let me center. Good. Let me change the dates. Let's go to, how about, let's change it year. Let's change, okay, let's change date. Let's see. How about this? Which year is this? Oh my goodness, we are in July 28th, 2017. I don't know if you'll still be alive by then, but anyway, so that's the cool thing about softwares. It can take you to places that you probably will not be there at all, right? This software is cool. You can display the sky anytime since BC times up to the future. So, oh, my iPad fell on my coffee cup. No accident. So which phase is this? Again, first thing, right hand or left hand? It's right hand, so it's a waxing phase. Now, would you call it crescent? Probably not. See that? If I take the tip, the horns, I mean these tips here and there, see these tips are called horns. Let me do something. Let me go to another, like this one. Okay, so these bright tips are called horns. Horns, H-O-R-N. I don't know if you notice I have an accent because I'm Brazilian. So English is ESL for me. So if I speak too fast or you don't understand what I'm saying, you can ask me, email me, say, hey, can you slow down, or hey, can you speak English, please? And then I try to improve. But yeah. Anyway, so these are called horns, H-O-R-N, horns. So if you take the horns and draw a line from one horn to the other, right? So you see that less than 50% of that hemisphere, the bright one, is showing to us. So it's a crescent phase. So this moon is a waxing and is a crescent, waxing crescent phase. Okay. Let me do something different now. How about this? Which phase this is, you think? Good. I agree with you. I would call this a first quarter. Is a waxing, right? Waxing, because you're grabbing with the right hand, you don't grab with the left hand, and if you take the horns and draw a line, it goes across the center of the moon. So it's a first quarter. Just to make sure, if I double click here, it might, see, disk illumination 53%. It's pretty much close to first quarter. So without precision, we have, just by looking at it, would be a wonderful guess. So I would call this first quarter. Let's try differently. Oops! You see that thing? It's a galaxy. My goodness. This looks like Andromeda. Yeah, it's Andromeda galaxy. See how wonderful astronomy is? You can find all kind of cool things just by playing around in the sky. Okay, I want to find a different phase. How about this phase here? How about this? This phase is going to happen in May 28, 2041. Good gracious. I will certainly be dead by then. Probably I will be watching this phase from my grave. I will not have a grave. I want to be cremated. I want to have my ashes kind of casted away in different places. So, yeah. Okay, I don't know. I'm talking about death now. I think it's because of end of year. Huh? Things are kind of waning down. See, I'm using the word waning in respect to moon's phase. But okay, let's go back to this. Which phase this is? How would you call it? Think about it. Yeah, I would call the same way. So, for instance, now I have to use my left hand to grab it, right? See this bright part here? I use my left hand, so it's a waning phase. And since less than 50% of the bright hemisphere is facing us, much less in fact, this is a waning crescent moon. Okay? Okay, now what I'm gonna do with you is this. I'm gonna, and this is your assignment. This is your, by the way, if you wanna play around with the moon's phase a lot, I just upload a link that you can use and abuse to learn the moon's phase. This is very cool. Look at this. Sunlight, moon, and earth, and a dude, and you can place the moon at any position, right? The moon orbits earth like this, counterclockwise, as I mentioned before. And depending on where you put the moon, so you're gonna go from the waxing phases, see that? The waxing appearing. You're holding with the right hand side, and then you go to the waning phases. And then you can use this picture here to see the relative position of moon and the sun in the sky. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. Your assignment is to just upload with the Turnitin. Let me see. I can moon pictures. Let me choose one picture. 。  . 。 . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Okay, this assignment is you are going to email me. In fact, upload a text and turn it in, and you're gonna tell me. And you're gonna tell me. This is a nice one. This is how we think the moon was formed. This is a proto-Earth, and this is a protoplanet. No longer exists. Astronomers call different names. Some call Orpheus, some call Rhea, but those two collide about 4 billion years ago, and splashed material coming out of this collision gave rise to our moon. In fact, first two moons and then another one. Okay, let's keep going. This Look at this picture, it's so weird. Can't be true, right? First of all, I mean the moon is a circle, as a sphere, so you should be able to have this part of the house being eclipsed by this moon. This makes no sense. Besides, you can't have a moon in your backyard. Okay, let me see. Okay, that's a good one. I want you to email me and use Turnitin and tell me which phase this is. Assume that this picture was taken in the northern hemisphere, and is a moon, and this surreal place is Earth, northern hemisphere, Earth, and which phase this is. Okay, good enough. Okay, this is your assignment. Thank you.